it's time to break down another region. We just heard Darby's take on the Super Centex region. Like we said, this one is a big one. I believe it was 91 different teams. I mean, it's encompassing. I mean, really, really encompassing.
Yeah, it took me a while to organize the regions on Monday, so I can tell you from experience, there's a lot of them.
I was just going to say, yes, thank you for organizing those. I was going to see if I could give you kind of a, hold on for a second.
And there's a ton of ranked teams, too. I mean, like, I didn't count up how many. I guess I could do that right now. But, I mean, like, if I had to guess, I would say about 15 to 20% of the region is ranked. If that's a good guess. Maybe a little less than that.
With that sample size, it's just hard because there's so many of them. But, yeah, I mean, we're stretching here from in 1A Division 2 from, like, Richland Springs to Cherokee. I mean, you've got Blum in 1A Division 1, then you've kind of got the Mart, Chilton area, then you have the, we include San Saba and Gulfweight, which is, like, really close over there by Llano, so, I mean, we're talking, like, all the way kind of south down there. You've got Rice, which is, I mean, all the way up 35, and then you've got the, Lorena, Cameron Yo, Little River area, kind of in that other side pocket, then you have all the actual Waco, we have Lampasas included in here, all the way up to Corsicana, Lake Belton, and then Temple and stuff. So, I mean, you're really taking, if you're going down that stretch of 35, you're taking everything basically from Corsicana all the way down to Lampasas is probably like one of the southernmost points, all the way over to Gulfweight and San Saba, and then all the way over to Killeen and everything. So, I mean, it's huge. Everything. But without further ado, like you said, we have a ton of ranked teams. So let's get into that. We'll start off with the highest classification that has a ranked team in it, and that is the number 1 China Spring Cougars. We will get into that. Do not put an S on it. There is no S. It's just China Spring. If you say China Springs,
they're going to yell at you.
They're going to come get you.
The whole high school community will yell at you.
Yes, that whole town will. So they're in 4A Division 1. We'll talk about them in a little bit. 3A Division 1, the reigning 3A Division 2 state champions, the Lorena Leopards. Were they 3A
Division 1?
They were 3A Division 1. That's right. Because Franklin moved up and is now in their same district. So reigning 3A Division 1 state champs in Coach Ray Biles and his Lorena Leopards. Then you have number 10, West, Texas, not West Texas, the region. If you
I wonder how many people get confused, but that.
Oh, a ton. And if you missed it, they actually, at the beginning of the year, they tweeted out one of their jerseys. On the front of it just says the comma. Amazing.
That's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. It's in like cursive letters. It says the comma. And then 2A Division 1 Crawford coming in at number 3. Moving on past that, down to our 2A Division 2 teams. Darby mentioned them, the number 1 ranked Mart Panthers, back after a little bit of what seemed like a hiatus last year. Obviously, as Darby mentioned, there was all the stuff that went on with Coach Hoffman retiring and then deciding to come back, and now Mart is looking like the machine that they have been in years past. You'll remember they went 3 out of 4 state championships when Roger Freeman was there, and they are back operating. They meet up with bunkmate number 5, Chilton. Then down to the 6-man ranks we go, where Darby will be tonight. The number 1 ranked Abbott Panthers. Shout out Coach Terry Crawford, a loyal viewer of Texas football today. His squad is rolling and has a good test tonight to secure that district championship. I think their district championship is already secured, but this would put a cap on an undefeated regular season, I believe. Number 3, Jonesboro, and number 9, Gordon. But we're not done. This really is 6-man territory down here. Other than West Texas, this is probably the conglomerate that has some of the most 1A teams. Number 2, ranked Cherokee. We'll talk about them a little later on. I have seen this team play in person this year, and I've got some takes. And then
that's right. I forgot you went there.
I did. We saw their game against Bluffdale.
That's right.
There's my flex of the afternoon. But then the number 5 ranked Richland Springs Coyotes, a perennial powerhouse down there. So there are the ranked teams in the Super Centex region, a ton of them. Honestly, we saved this for pretty close to last out of our regional breakdown because we knew there were going to be so many teams. And if you're a big school snob, you might not realize that because you're looking at the teams in, you know, the 5A, the 6A ranks, and you're saying, you know, some of the Waco schools, some of this, the Colleens, the Temples, you know, Temple's been doing pretty good this year, but not up to their normal standard, I would say. So you've got those and you're going, nah, there's nothing. And then you get into the meat and potatoes of it, that 4A, the 3A, that's prime right there. So without further ado, we go over to the concierge of vibes, Miss Mallory Harley. She just shakes her head at me to break down our players to watch.
All right. Like I asked Darby earlier, it just seems like this region has and I say this every week, every region has a lot of talent. But to me, this seems like a region that has a lot of talent that can be utilized on different parts of the field in the same player. So let's go ahead and get into it. We start off strong with Temple wide receiver and defensive back, Mikael Harrison Pilot. Absolutely no strangers to the headline AP. He once held them. I don't know if he still does.
I think he still does.
He still does. Still holds the most D1 offers of any athlete in Texas. That's over 40 offers, which is just blows my mind. He's still uncommitted, but I think experts say he's actually trending towards TCU. He was trending towards Texas for a while, but just recently, I think, honestly, this week or last week, I think Nick Harris came out and said on Rivals, like, hey, I think he's trending more towards TCU.
It's crazy what happens when you're leading the Big 12.
I know, right? He said, oh, I want to go there.
Yeah.
But he's actually being recruited as a safety. Honestly, no surprise there. He's just an absolute machine that plays both ways at a 6A program, which is honestly, to me, unheard of. He's the number 12 athlete in the country, number 30 overall prospect in the state of Texas. Last season, he recorded 20 tackles and 1 interception, and on the offensive side of the ball, he caught 29 passes for 484 yards and 6 touchdowns, and also recorded 37 carries off 168 yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. He will be a key component in whether this Temple team goes deep or not into the playoffs.
Yeah, Temple is actually, they're kind of littered with like really good prospects like this. I don't know if they're gelling exactly how
Reminds
they
me of
want
Texas.
to. Yeah.
It's a Texas team.
Yeah.
University of Texas team.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, Mikael has been the one that's all eyes have been on him, and I think that honestly, I think he's helped bring eyes to a couple of his other teammates.
Yes.
I do think that's part of the reason why they have so many really good athletes out there right now. But no, I mean, this will be one that when he makes his recruitment, all of our eyes are going, hey, where did he say he was going? You know,
all eyes are going to be on him for sure. Let's move down to Lake Belton defensive back Javion Wilcox. He does play both sides of the ball. He's being recruited, I believe, to play as a defensive back, but he does chip in at wide receiver. He's committed to play, no shock, TCU.
There you go.
As a safety. Last season, he emerged as a defensive star, recording 96 total tackles, 43 solo tackles, and 1 forced fumble. And get this, his Twitter name, he's got the word boom in it, which is a perfect description. I saw that and I was like, man, he's smart.
Boom.
He knows marketing well, let me tell you. But he just describes him perfectly. When the defense is in need of an explosive play, Wilcox is just always seems to be there to make that big play. He's also stepped up in a big way on the offensive side of the ball this season. In Lake Belton's overtime game against Red Oak this season, Wilcox caught the game-winning touchdown. It was a beautiful pass, beautiful catch by Wilcox. So definitely a guy that knows how to step up in big-time game situations and lead his team to the victory.
Yeah, he was a big surprise here because you'll remember Lake Belton is a first-year varsity program who we knew was going to step had always said, hey, I think that when they join the UIL, like they're going to make an immediate impact. Javion was a big reason for that, but this is a big get for TCU because the other team in Texas that was really, really going after Tech had their name in the hat, but I think the decision really came between them and Baylor.
Yep.
So big miss from Baylor, honestly, not being able to lock down that homegrown talent right there. Those are the people that they need to be landing on. But
yes.
A huge get from TCU because you know how TCU and Baylor think about one another. So that was a really big get for Sonny Dykes and the Horned Frogs.
Yep. Let's keep it rolling with China Spring athlete Trey Hafford. This guy is just a blast to watch, and he just gets at it wherever he lines up on the field. He was a big part of the state championship run that China Spring squad had last season, and I believe he was the defensive MVP in the game.
I think that's right. I know he got one of them. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I believe he was the defensive MVP. This dude has a really, really high vertical. When you're watching his huddle tape, he just gets so high off the ground. Like, it's absurd. He's got a super high vertical, which to me I think translates really well to that wide receiver and defensive back position. He can jump to the ball and make insane plays when he is needed to. He's speedy. He's got great size, standing at 6 foot, 190 pounds. He's just hard to bring down and gives whoever he's up against a lot of trouble. He's a defensive star, being utilized as a utility player on the offensive side of the ball as well. And I think that he could definitely help guide this China Spring team back to AT&T Stadium in December.
Trey is exactly what you were when you were talking at the start of this segment about there being players that, you know, you say every region has players, and they do. I think Trey Hafford is exactly what you're looking at from the Super Centex, because you're not necessarily talking about the 5 stars. Mm-hmm. You're talking about these underrated players that the G5 teams need to have someone with their pulse on what Super Centex players are doing, because this is a thing that a Conference USA team, a Sun Belt team, like, would be getting a huge get that might not be up to that Power 5 level.
I don't believe that he is committed anywhere.
He's
I know
not.
He's being recruited, but I don't
Lamar, Houston, Tulane, and UTSA seem to be the ones that he has on his list right now.
Okay. Oh, Tulane would be a get. Anyways, I'm sure that'll change if they even make a deep run in the playoffs. Let's move on down to Lorena wide receiver Jadon Porter. I think Darby mentioned him a little bit. He's pretty dang good. And guess what? He's only a junior. He graduates in the class of 2024. An emerging junior. He's one heck of an athlete and already verbally committed to play for the Baylor Bears. Of course, that could change because he's just verbally committed and still has another year. But definitely one of the top prospects in the class of 2024 in Texas. As a sophomore, he recorded 198 rushing yards off 16 carries, 3 touchdowns, and caught 58 passes for 1,265 yards and 13 touchdowns. Of course, he helped lead Lorena to a state championship last year, and he's just as explosive as they come. Has an insane athletic ability, great size, standing at 6'1", 185 pounds, and he just makes key plays, like hurdling defenders. Like one of his first highlights that you see pop up on his handle is literally hurdling a probably 6-foot defender. I mean, he's just
wild,
athletically insane.
Yeah, he's a legitimate athlete, and I love too when you take a look at his player profile on 24/7 and it says Baylor. It says he's recruited by Sean Bell. If you're not familiar, there is what I said. What they missed out on JV and Wilcox is what they got in Jadon Porter, because Sean Bell, obviously the brother of Brian Bell, obviously the sons of former Coach Bell at China Spring. You know, it's all this is the kind of player that the Bells. This is the kind of spot that Baylor has a really good pulse on. So that if he can stay committed to Baylor, that's a huge get for the Bears.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard too. I mean, especially because he's only a junior. Yeah. I mean, he's going to get a lot of looks just because this Lorena team is really good this year. Mm-hmm. He's going to get more looks for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if they could keep him there.
Yeah, especially with Austin Novosad on the horizon there for the Bears. If they can keep them there, then they're doing a good job.
Yep. Let's move on down to Waco Connolly athlete Jelani McDonald, also no stranger to the headlines. He's a true two-way athlete, playing both at quarterback and defensive back this season for the Cadets, and he's rated the 10th best athlete in Texas. He's a playmaker on both sides of the field, just making big plays with his legs, arms, and hands. Oh, and he's a threat at the wide receiver position, too. So
Because why
not? You're just good at the game of football, dude. We get it. Against Mejia, McDonald just went off. He threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for another touchdown, returned a kickoff for a score, and also logged an interception return for a touchdown. A little pick six action for you there. Put him anywhere on the field, and he is just bound to make big-time plays. Now, Darby did mention this earlier. He was formerly committed to Oklahoma State, but he recently opened his recruitment back up. I think he's got his eyes on the University of Texas, but we'll have to see in the coming days. Let's keep moving. Let's keep the train rolling. Crawford athlete Breck Chambers. He does it all, man, and for a big he's a big reason why this Crawford team is undefeated this season. He acts as a utility player on the offensive side, lining up at running back and wide receiver. He also takes part in special teams. He's the punter and the kicker. Talk about 1A football, man.
Wild.
He's just an explosive playmaker, too, and to prove that, last week against Riesel, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Chambers had 124 yards and 3 scores on just 4 carries in the first quarter. You can't get much more explosive than that, man. I mean, it's wild. Also, I did mention he's the kicker, so he'll score the touchdown, right? Oh, but he's going to stay on the field because he's got to kick his extra point.
Insane.
Yeah.
Why not, man? Go off.
Yeah, just go off, man. He's a fun athlete to watch, and he could definitely take Crawford all the way. All right, let's round it all out with Teague. Formerly, he was at Marlin,
yeah.
I believe. Okay. Darian Gillette, he's our 2A cover boy.
He was.
This
I
year.
wrote that.
Yeah.
I think.
You
can't remember.
You wrote one of them.
I'm pretty sure I wrote that one.
Yeah. 2A cover boy, really good. He's got an asterisk by his name because he has not, unfortunately, played this season due to an injury. Like I said, he's a transfer from Marlin and put up huge numbers when he was there. 125 total tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 interceptions as a junior. He's committed to play at Texas next season as a linebacker. And on the offensive side, he was just as explosive at the wide receiver spot. 62 catches for 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. Man, it's a shame, though, that he was injured this season because I can only imagine what his stats would have looked like with a whole offseason under his belt. I bet they would have been just as good, or probably even better.
Oh yeah, he was a blast. I got to cover Marlin a little bit last year because I was doing state sideline reporting for the 2A Division I state championship.
Oh, that's right,
so
yeah.
I saw their game against Hawley last year in the state semifinals, and yeah, I mean he was just obviously that wasn't the best game for Marlin, but he was so much fun to watch. He really was. We were audibly like disappointed when we heard the news in the preseason that he had messed up his knee.
Yeah. Really sad. But there you go. There are your players to watch in the Super Centex region. Lots of really, really fun and explosive talent to watch. So if you ever get the chance to go down there and just watch some dudes play some ball, do it because it's fun. Promise.
Guys being dudes. What's better than that?
Dudes, man. What can you want more?
So there you go. There is our players to watch as we transition over to our last segment. Our favorite segment, Stonks.
Always try your hand of stonks.
The stonks do be stonkin'.
The stonks be stonkin'.
Sometimes they just be stonkin'. We'll start off with the number 1 team in 4A Division 1 in the China Spring Cougars under first-year head coach Tyler Beatty. They have looked exceptional. If you remember, they did go and they were the reigning 4A Division 2 state champs last year, taking down Gilmer, and then they bumped up to 4A Division 1 this year. So we were very excited, not only for them to move up and to see what they did there, but they ended up in the exact same district as the reigning 4A Division 1 state champs in the Stephenville Yellow Jackets. So week 9 was when we were super excited for that one. I mean, the moment realignment came out, we had that one circled, and they did it. They made it past their biggest test in Stephenville. They won 38-36. They're on a bye week this week. They had that dreaded week 11 bye week, depending on how you want to look at it. Some people, if you can go through and take care of business, they get excited because then they have the week off before playoffs. So not playing anyone this week, but they did it. They played Lorena in the first game of the season, got that dub. They played a pretty good Melissa team and got that dub. Their only loss of the season coming from Dallas Parish Episcopal, which is a private school team, the number 1 ranked private school team in our DCTF Associated Press rankings, who has been just whopping
Murdering,
fools.
yeah.
I mean, their Parish Episcopal's really good. They actually have a really, really good game scheduled for tonight or tomorrow night, I believe, against Plano Prestonwood. So
nice.
if you're into that kind of thing, it's a really, really good game. But here's the deal. You take a look at 4A Division 1 and you say, where are the stonks? The stonks are extremely high for China Spring. Here's where I get worried. I think that they've already claimed the district championship in 5-4A Division 1. So check number 1, good to go. If you want to take a look at the rest of Region 2,
It's a tough region, man.
It is. I mean, you have, and most of it, honest to God, most of it comes from their own district. The other side of it that I think would be able to cause a little bit of issues, if you look at District 8, you have Paris, Kaufman, and Anna. I think if you're going to ask me right now, and I don't know, I'd need to go back and look. We don't have time to do that right now, but if I don't know if Anna has, and Sulphur Springs even. I mean, heck, I don't know if I think Anna has solidified the district championships there. If they haven't, I think they are today.
Okay, I know for a fact that Anna and Sulphur Springs play today.
Okay.
So
well,
that's a
big game. So let's look this up.
That should solidify the district championship. So I believe that they're playing tonight, I would say.
Let's see. I said we didn't have time to look it up, but we're making time to look it up real fast.
Yeah, because we talked about East Texas
Mm-hmm.
last week, and Sulphur Springs was on.
Yeah,
our
because
stonks,
Anna did end up beating Paris last week. So
That's right.
Yeah, if Anna can beat Sulphur Springs tonight, they are favored by 18 in that one, according to Dave Campbell's computer. If Anna can do that, then they're going to solidify their district championship with 10-0 season, 5-0 there. It does get a little bit of a cluster there between Sulphur Springs and Kaufman to decide that second part of the district. But anyway, going back to China Springs' path to the playoff, not only would they end up playing one of those teams at some point, those 3 teams are probably the toughest out of District 8, but then you go back and you say, okay, if they're able to make it that far, in their same district, you have Stephenville is probably going to hit the 4th spot, actually, in that district, because Waco, La Vega, China Spring, Alvarado beat Stephenville last week in a shocker. It seemed like Stephenville let that China Spring loss age like moldy milk, and it ended up beating them twice. So Stephenville actually clinching the 4th seed in that district, so they'll probably get matched up with a tougher opponent there. But Region 2 is not light in 4A Division 1. No. It is not light. But if you can get past that, I think that they would be favored over anyone in Region 1. I think so too. I mean,
the real test here is going to be, can you get past Region 2? Mm-hmm. I mean, if they can make it to the regional finals, I think they should be. In
the regional finals, I mean, heck, they could face Stephenville again in the regional finals, depending on what that does. So yeah, if you make it to the state semifinal, I would put anyone out of Region 2 above Region 1 in that. But I mean, Brownwood can make some noise. Maybe, I don't know. That's really it.
It's hard. Yeah.
Dumas is not looking terrible.
No.
So I think that China Spring has a tough playoff road ahead of them, but I think that they have proved that they are the best team in that region thus far. It really just has to do with, can they stay healthy? Can they keep it up? If you do have to face Stephenville in the regional final, can you face a good team twice? So interested. I would say stonks are up on China Spring. Yep. They haven't done anything to make me think that they're not the number 1 team in 4A Division 1, but I am saying that I don't think it's going to be as light as a path as they had last year in 4A Division 2 to get to Jerry World, but they are operating right now.
Stonks are up for sure.
Moving on now to 3A Division 1. We're going to go to the reigning state champions in Lorena. So Darby said it, and I'm going to agree with it. It's a little bit of a down year, and it's funny to say that because they're the number 8th ranked team in the state. But compared to what they did last year Lorena was on, hellfire, just going for it.
I want to know, I meant to go back and look what their closest game was, because I don't even think they had a single close game last season. They just murked everybody in their path. Like, fire. Like, they cleared the grass out. Like, there was nothing left.
Like, fire.
It was crazy.
But it is crazy because District 11 is the toughest district.
Yes.
In that, I want to say, honestly, well, District 12 might have something to say about it, to be honest with you, who they would be paired up against, because when you take a look, they're in Region 3. They've made it through Cameron Yo, Franklin, Little River Academy, did they beat Franklin?
I don't think they beat Franklin.
They did not. So they lost to Franklin and they lost to Cameron Yo. That right there was
China
the
Spring,
issue.
But it also,
they lost to
like,
China Spring. That's a pretty
weird
big
classification.
Yeah,
difference
real
there.
big classification difference there, and you're going up against the reigning state champs there. The thing that we were worried about for Lorena in the first place was the fact that they had Franklin in their district. Franklin got moved up from 3A Division 2 up to 3A Division 1. They played week 9 as well, so we had 2 battles of reigning state champions going at it in district matchups. So that poses the issue. If you wanted to pair Lorena and Franklin up again, I think Franklin is hands down the best team that we're seeing right now, and that they would have a very, very tough time getting past them. But even moving further than that, when you take a look at what District 12 is doing right now, Columbus has looked good, Hallettsville has been on a tear as of recent, and Hitchcock has been really, really good. They dropped one last week to Hallettsville, but that decided that state or district championship. I keep saying state championship. I guess I have playoffs on mine and I'm so excited. But I don't think right now, sports gun to my head, I don't know. I don't think Lorena is going to be able to make it back. They can. No. They have the playmakers to be able to do it. They're the number 8th ranked team for a reason. But I think trying to go up against those things again, I know it's hard to beat a tough team twice, but if they did end up seeing Franklin again, I think that Franklin is showing that they're the better team right now. I don't think that the Lorena defense has what they need to stop that Franklin rushing attack.
Yeah, I think Franklin looks like the Lorena team from last year.
Yes.
They're just murking people left and right here, and I think that, you're totally right. If these two teams have to match up again, I think Franklin has the upper hand. I
agree.
Really do.
Yeah, I think we saw just too much out of Franklin when they played the first time that I just don't know if they could do it. So compared to last year, I'm going to say Stonk's a little bit down on Lorena. But to round it all out super quick, did want to talk about the number 2 ranked team in 1A Division 2, the Cherokee Indians. Got to see them play against Bluffdale, and this team is legit. They are actually legit. First off, they have a kicker that could go play for Angelo State right now if they wanted to. So that's a threat that a lot of 6-man teams don't have. He's a big kid. He can help on other sides of the ball, but they have a couple of really, really crucial playmakers that obviously are playing both ways, but specifically on the offensive side of the ball, I think they have a quarterback that can take the deep shots when you need them to. Their rushing abilities there, and their defense is really good at forcing turnovers. So I'll be very interested to see what Cherokee can do and what kind of noise they can make. But I think that Stonks are up for Cherokee, in a team that maybe hasn't been in our verbiage a whole lot the past couple of years, that can really shock some people in the 6-man ranks.
Yeah, they're also murking people right now too. I mean, none of their games on their district schedule or in the regular season have been even remotely close. They're favored by 104 to the team that they play tonight.
Yeah, and please let me remind you that you can 45 people in. It's literally not possible to beat someone by 104 points in a 6-man game.
I don't think I've ever seen a spread that high before. 104, that's a lot.
The computer loves Cherokee because of how dominant they have been. Yeah. You absolutely loves them. So Stonks way up for Cherokee. Interested to see how they're able to continue on. Obviously, when you get to that level, injury is everything. They've got to keep their playmakers healthy, or else it's done at that point.
Because at that point, you're losing your wide receiver and your defensive back and probably your quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking,
and your punter.
He just throws it to himself. You don't know. So there it is. Super Centex. A ton to break down.